let's just dive right in, shall we? We're going to explore a connection that, well, a lot of us experience but almost never talk about. That really powerful and often hidden link between how we're feeling and our private lives. I mean, it's a huge question, right? How can what's going on in our head have such a direct physical impact on intimacy? It's almost like there's a secret switch in our brain controlling everything. And today, we're going to try and find it. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at that mind-body link. Then, we'll see how it's actually a two-way street. We'll meet the key chemical player in all of this, uncover a really surprising paradox, and then finally, talk about how to find your balance. Let's get into it. Okay, first things first, we have to get our heads around the fact that this mind-body connection isn't some abstract idea. It's physical. Your brain is, quite literally, the command center for, well, everything. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. Depression isn't just feeling down. It is a tangible biological shift in your brain's chemistry. And, when the wiring in your command center is a little off, it sends ripples through your entire system, directly impacting things like desire and, yes, physical function. Now, here's where it gets complicated. This connection isn't just a one-way path from your brain out to your body. Oh no, it's a feedback loop, and it can turn into a pretty vicious cycle fast. So the kicker is this. Just like depression can put a damper on desire, any difficulties with intimacy can in turn make feelings of stress, anxiety, and depression even worse. The two problems start feeding each other, and that can make the whole situation feel totally inescapable. Let's just walk through how this thing works, step by step. So it might start with depression, which kind of lowers sexual desire. Okay, that can lead to some sexual difficulties, which naturally cranks up the stress and anxiety. And guess what that new stress does? It pours fuel on the very depression that started the whole problem. It's a perfect and perfectly miserable loop. So who's the main character in this whole drama? What's the thing connecting all of these dots? Well, it's time to meet the star of our show, a tiny but incredibly mighty chemical messenger called serotonin. You've probably heard of it before, right? People call it the happiness hormone, and for good reason. Serotonin is this fundamental neurotransmitter that helps signals zip around your brain and body, and it has a huge influence on how you feel. But here's the thing, it's so much more than just a mood manager. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of your body's chemistry. It has a hand in everything, from your digestion and your sleep schedule to, you guessed it, your sexual desire and function. Its influence is just everywhere. Okay, so far this all seems to make sense. Low serotonin, low mood. Makes sense. But this is where our story takes a really fascinating and frankly, a completely unexpected turn. Let's dive into what's known as the serotonin paradox. So here's the setup. It seems simple, right? Fact number one, we know low serotonin is linked to depression. Fact number two, so a lot of the most common antidepressants are designed to do one simple thing, increase the amount of serotonin in the brain. It makes perfect sense. But that leads us to a really critical question we have to ask. When we're talking about something as complex and as delicate as our brain chemistry, is just cranking up the volume always the right move? Is more always better? And boom, here it is. This is the paradox. The very same chemical that we increase to lift our mood can, when it's elevated, have the exact opposite effect on our sex drive. So the treatment for the depression can actually end up suppressing sexual function and desire. This quote just sums it up perfectly. It is a true double-edged sword. The very thing that's helping you feel better mentally can create a brand new challenge for you physically. And you know what? Just understanding that this paradox exists is the first huge step towards solving it. All right, so now that we kind of get the problem, let's shift gears and talk about solutions. How in the world do we break out of this cycle and find our way back to a healthy, holistic balance? The first thing you've got to realize is that none of these issues exist in a vacuum. Your own personal stress and the dynamics of your relationship, they are all tangled up together. You can't just pull on one thread without moving all the others. A holistic approach is really the only way forward. And here's the good news. There are some really powerful, natural ways to support your body's own serotonin production. Simple things, getting more sunlight, exercising regularly, finding ways to manage stress. Even what you eat can make a difference. Eating foods rich in tryptophan, that's the amino acid your body actually uses to make serotonin. We're talking about things like nuts, seeds, turkey, oats. All of these can help your system find its own natural equilibrium. But maybe the single most important takeaway here is this one. The most effective approach is often couples therapy. And why is that? Because it completely reframes the issue from your problem or my problem into our challenge. It's about tackling it as a team. And really, this brings us to the core message of it all. Real, lasting health isn't just about one thing. It's a delicate balance, a harmony between three pillars: your mind, your body, and your relationships. When all three are working together, the whole system just works. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. How can we get better at this? How can we create a space in our own lives and in our own relationships to talk openly and honestly about this really complex, really powerful link between our minds and our bodies? Because that conversation, that honest conversation, might just be the most important step of all.